What's up, everybody? Welcome to the channel. And for everyone who's been following this channel, I made a ton of UFL videos, and I can tell you that this may be the most important video for UFL that you watch of mine, or watch, period. Now, I apologize for the noise in the background. I have a puppy, and he is humping everything. What you are hearing in the background is literally him humping my work coat, so I'm just going to let him keep doing that. Anyways, too much information maybe, but back to serious business. Here's what this video is about, right? You're looking at my team from 3 months ago. Notice that my entire team is pretty much fully boosted up, right? 91 is the highest rating that you can get. After that, you can just add skills to the player, and I pretty much have the best team. So, did I spend money? Yes. But even the players that didn't spend money at this point are fully boosted up with their squads and have all the players they want, or pretty much all the players they want, right? Let's even just say they had 6 players that they wanted. They still have, a handful left to go after, right? Or let's say they have a few that they boosted, and they said, you know what, I don't want them. I'm going to start over and get some lower rated players and boost them up. Whatever way you look at it, it doesn't take you very far into the future. We're talking about games that you play day in and day out and that go on for years and years, right? I mean, look at FC. I've played my entire life. The games came out 31 years in a row. I think now it might be 32 or whatever. But either way, you get the point. UFL is at the very, very beginning, and where are they going to go? There's so much they have to do to fix the game. There's so much they have to do adding modes and stuff. And I know they just came out with their big update as far as what they're adding. But there is absolutely nothing in there as far as a roadmap goes to what we can expect as far as our teams go, right? Forget about all the issues with, the gameplay. Which for me, ultimately, that's what is ruining the game as far as why I have limited content. Because like I said, why am I going to blow smoke up your you-know-what and provide all these different top midfielders, top defenders, top tactics, this and that, when truthfully it's just a 30-yard snapshot from Ronaldo is like the meta, right? So there you go. I just gave you the biggest tip. So the point is that besides all that, there's not even much to talk about player-wise, right? I did those reviews with the green skins because I think a lot of people were underestimating just what those green skins boosted. And then some players got way better boosts than others. So I wanted to provide that. That was definitely useful information. However, that's done and gone. Now, we're going to have these different player of the months and so on and so forth. However, what's that going to change, right? If you have a Holland green skin, how much better is a Holland Dragonboard skin going to be? Or a Holland Supercharge, or whatever the different names they come up with. Same with Mbappe. You have the Mbappe St. Patty's Day skin. So how much better is whatever skin going to be? Because those St. Patty's Day skins go all the way to what? September? It's getting ready to be, what is it? Getting ready to be May. So June, July, August, September. So like 4 months left. Let's even say 3 months. And then you may buy this next skin. If it has an Mbappe that's a little bit better, a little bit different, you may not. And then they're just going to come up with more and more skins. You spend more and more money each time these come around. I'd say I spent about, I think it was either 60 or 90. For some reason, those two numbers are in my head. It wasn't terrible, but if you're talking like every few months having to spend that just to get skins that are, essentially the same for each player, then it becomes like just leave the player skins out of it and just give me the regular rating. I'm not just going to keep spending 60 or 90 bucks to get the same, boost on a player, then they expire in 3-4 months. Then I get another boost for a player, then they expire. And every time I'm spending money. But that's kind of the path that they're on, right? Because let's say you have the Mbappe or Holland right now with these St. Patty's Day skins. You're set for those guys. So how excited are you for these other Player of the Month events, right? Even if, let's say, you have Mbappe up top with the St. Patty's Day skin, and then they come out with an insane Endrick skin that boosts him way up, and now he's neck and neck with Mbappe. Okay, well, are you going to really go after that Endrick skin if you already have the Mbappe one? Probably not. But let's say you do. Let's say you spend money and get the Endrick skin. Now, that Mbappe skin you spent money for is just sitting there for no reason. And then the same repetitive thing's going to happen over and over. Next thing you know, Endrick's skin's getting ready to expire. And then you get another striker with a boost that's up there with Endrick, and you have to decide, do I want to keep Endrick in since I paid for this skin and replace Mbappe with him, or am I going to spend more money to get another striker in, and just now that money was wasted on Endrick, I don't even use him the rest of the time, or he goes under the bench, and I keep doing that process over and over and over every time they come out with these player of the month skins or whatever you want to call it, right? It makes no sense because all of the players are already maxed out, and all these skins do with these super boosts is give you even more of a reason to just keep those players, right? It gives you less excitement for these new, player of the month or Dragonborn skins or whatever, because you already have a juiced up team that you spent money on. The St. Paddy's Day skins, you spent money on those. Therefore, you're either going to spend more money now to replace those players for no reason, or you're just going to keep the St. Paddy's Day ones until they expire. And still, even if you do that, you're going to end up going to get whatever skins are out when those expire, when the St. Paddy's Day ones expire, and it's just a repetitive process. It would be no different if they add in Legends. Now, what's the difference in eFootball? What's the difference in FC? Well, FC, totally unique to the other two games because every year they reset the players, and then you have to rebuild your team. Now, many players will say, like, I hate how you get an Mbappe and you just lose him at the end of the year. But think about it. Every year in FC, the whole thing is about who am I going to get this year? What big player am I going to pack that I'm going to build my team around? Who can I, what SBCs am I going to save for this year? I'm not going to miss out like last year on the Ronaldinho or the Hullet or whatever. So every year, you get excited to restart and see who you're going to get. I got Mbappe last year. Let's see if I can get R9 this year. Am I ever going to get R9? Every year there's that excitement. I got Hullet this year, which I truly did in FC. Can I get him again next year? Like every year, you restart and see if you can build another great team, see who you pack, so on and so forth, right? The other two games don't have nearly the depth or excitement, and they're not a yearly release where you restart your team. So while people complain about that, it also it's a system that works, put it that way. And that's why they're 30 plus years, deep, and they have the most players and the most money, right? So hats off to them, but we're not here to talk about them because the community over there, the game, everything else, they can have that. We've already discussed that in detail. There's a reason why I've stepped away or distanced myself from FC. Now moving on to what UFL and eFootball have. A free game, right? And UFL has no legends. eFootball does have legends, right? eFootball also continuously releases new legends, right? With different play styles, different skill sets, different boosts, right? They had single boost players. Now they have double boost players. Who knows if they're going to do triple boost players? But for instance, you have Beckenbauer as a center back, and then I just got an eFootball, a Beckenbauer that's a CDM. You have a Suarez that has a bullet header as a special skill set, and then I have a Suarez right now that has phenomenal finishing. And what those are just like kind of like play styles. What they're coming out with, I believe, in UFL, right? So it's either team play styles or it's individual play styles, right? Which in eFootball they call skills. Who knows? Different names, different games. But you get what I'm saying. No matter what it is, the point is that's where eFootball has a leg up on UFL is, one, having the legends, and two, the fact that they have this process where literally weekly they release these 150 player boxes and they have these crazy sets of 3 players that you can get, and people spend crazy money on this, including myself. I have a God Squad. I'm pretty much done until like a Ronaldinho comes, and of course I'll go for him. And a lot of this is because I do content, and it's related to that. Would I spend all this money if I didn't? No. So I see it as an investment. However, a lot of players that don't do content still spend money over there at eFootball, but they feel like it's money well worth it because they keep these players forever, and they have these legendary players that literally are more true to life than any other game. They crush FC as far as how they make these players play in game compared to real life. It's literally spot on. So UFL doesn't have any of that. The best players in the game are your Mbappes and your Sons and your whoever, your Van de Vens, your Van Dijks, all these players, and everyone has them fully boosted. So even if we ignore all the issues in the gameplay, which you really can't, I mean, that's a huge issue too, and they still haven't fixed any of that. But even if you ignore all that, eventually you're going to get bored, right? There is no change. There is no resetting where it's like, who am I going to get this year? Because it's the same exact players, right? There is no legends. There is no promos to change these players around. The boost, for instance, how many different types of boosts are you going to do for Holland, for example? Like FC does have those promos that keep coming and coming and coming as you go, but it works out with their system. With UFL, it doesn't work out that way, right? Because many of these players you have to spend money on to get their skins. In FC, it's not like that, right? The new Holland comes out, okay, that's great. Well, I'm going to go play champs and maybe I can earn them. If not, so be it. I'm going to keep saving coins and then I can get that version of Holland. Well, it's not like that, right? Because these skins are like promos that you either spend money now and get or you miss them because they expire. So if you haven't thought about all this, as well as all the problems with the gameplay and the fact that they're 8+ years into production and then several patches in after release, and they still haven't fixed many simple things that other games would have fixed in a heartbeat, right? So why do I do this video then? Because if you invest your time and you literally end up saying this wasn't worth it, right? This game's literally going nowhere. There's nothing new. You get your hopes up and the writing was on the wall the whole time. Well then, if I wish I knew something that someone knew and they didn't tell me, I'd be pissed. So I'm just trying to keep you in the loop as to how my mind's working and why I've moved on to EFootball. Not only that, but the gameplay's just messed up. And EFootball is an incredible game that does have a terrible meta, does have a ton of losers here too, right? That literally take all these shortcuts instead of learning the game, and Konami caters to them. So they're not a perfect game by any means, but just like FC, the same thing. Both of them have a long-term system that works, right? EFootball, the long-term system, even though they lack depth, is that you can play beautiful football in all types of different ways with all types of different players. So you may switch a play style and now your team totally switches and you have all these players built up in your team. Like I said, they don't go away, right? And so you're going to have more than 2, 3, 4 strikers, center backs, wing backs that are all great players, but they all fit different play styles and systems. So that part's ever changing, right? So even though, again, they don't have much depth in modes, even though they just added like a ranked divisions versus AI, which is actually fun, right? And they're going to continue to add modes. But even if they didn't, there's still this variety and this amazing satisfaction you get when you learn these things and play the beautiful football that can be played in eFootball. That's what they have, right? UFL, it just doesn't have it. It's got all these broken mechanics, all these exploits, and let's just assume for a second, let's assume that the football gaming gods answer our prayers and all these exploits get taken out, and now UFL, you can play it, regularly without any BS. It's actually a skill-based game, and the best football gamer will win, not the best exploiter, right? Let's just assume that's the case. There's still no depth. Your team is still pretty much set. You have nothing to work towards, and eventually that is going to get boring, right? There isn't a bunch of different changes you can make, a bunch of different types of ways you can play. There's only just those few ways you can play. There's that certain meta you have to follow, the certain snapshot you have to take, right? That gets boring. So, again, I just want to make sure you're thinking about this from every angle before you invest your time just to be disappointed in the future. Now, I'm not saying that means you have to come to eFootball. You can do what you want. I'm not saying it means you have to go to FC. Again, you can do what you want. I can just give you the example of what I'm doing. I'll always be open to come back to UFL and play, not just cover it for the sake of my community and helping players out and helping players that still aspire to climb in UFL, right? I'll still be here to help, keeping my eye on what's going on. And the minute the game is playable or skill-based, I'll be right back there playing myself. But until then, I have another amazing game that honestly every day when I decide which game I want to play, it's not even a question anymore. It's 100% eFootball just because of everything it has to offer. So I won't go too much into that because this isn't an eFootball video, but that's just my mindset. And so that way, if UFL does crash and burn or just never changes and it gets stale for a lot of people and they start saying, man, I wish I never played this, or I'm just done, I'm so bored of it or whatever. Well, I already have another game that I've been playing, that I've been keeping up with, that I have an excellent team in, and so I can keep that going. So it's just worth considering. You might want to at least, if you want to still be, secure with a good football game to play if UFL does fail, you already have that set up. But if you choose not to, it's not like these games are going anywhere, right? You can bet every dollar you have that eFootball will be around and FC will be around. So you do have that ability to just start up if you just want to solely focus on UFL and put all your marbles in UFL's basket. Hopefully this helps you out just for seeing things from a different perspective, right? That's all I wanted to do. And I hope you have a good one. Keep grinding, keep having fun. I'll see you on the next one. Peace.